The alarms were screaming. Marcus Chen's hand hovered over the final machine switch. One more button and every device keeping his 12-year-old son alive would go dark. The ventilator, the medication pumps, everything. "Mr. Chen, do it now!" The homeless girl's voice cracked with desperation. 5 minutes. That's all we have left before the poison destroys his brain forever. Marcus looked at his son, Ethan, lying motionless in the hospital bed, pale, dying. The doctors said turning off these machines would kill him in minutes. But this 14-year-old girl with wild eyes and a broken laptop claimed the opposite. She said the machines weren't saving Ethan. They were murdering him. Outside the locked ICU door, fists pounded against the glass. "Marcus, stop!" That was Derek Walsh, Marcus's best friend for 20 years. His business partner, the man he trusted with everything. "You're killing him! Security, break down this door now!" A woman's voice shrieked from the hallway. "He's lost his mind! Someone stop him before my—" Carolyn Pierce, Ethan's personal nurse, the woman who'd cared for his son with such devotion for 2 years. Both of them screaming at Marcus to stop. Both of them, according to this homeless stranger, slowly poisoning his child for 3 weeks. Marcus's finger touched the switch. His hand shook so violently he could barely press it. "If you're wrong," his voice broke, "if you're wrong about this, I just murdered my own son." The girl grabbed his wrist. Tears streamed down her dirty face. "Codemaster never broke a promise to Phantom Script. Never. And he promised me he'd wake up if you just turned off the poison." Marcus had no idea what those words meant, but 30 minutes ago, this girl had walked into his son's hospital room and told him a password. A secret password that only 2 people in the entire world knew. Him and Ethan. Project Nightingale, January 2019. A password this stranger should never, ever have been able to know. The pounding on the door got louder. Wood starting to crack. Security was breaking through. "Now, Mr. Chen! Now, or he dies!" Marcus pressed the button. Every machine went silent. The room plunged into an eerie quiet. Just Ethan's shallow breathing. Just the racing of Marcus's heart. Derek's face appeared in the door window, twisted with rage. "You just killed your son, you fool!" 1 minute passed. Ethan didn't move. 2 minutes. Nothing. His skin looked even paler. 3 minutes. Marcus started hyperventilating. Oh God, what did I do?" 4 minutes. The girl whispered frantically, "Come on, Ethan. Come on, wake up. Wake up." 5 minutes. Marcus collapsed against the bed, sobbing. "He's gone. My son is gone. I killed him. I killed my own child." The door finally burst open. Security guards poured in. Derek rushed toward the machines. "Get them back on! Now! Before—" And that's when Ethan's eyes opened. Everyone in the room froze. Ethan looked straight at his father and whispered one word that changed everything. "Dad, Uncle Derek, poisoned me." Derek's face went from furious to absolutely terrified, and Marcus realized the homeless girl had been right about everything. Wait. Before you find out how a homeless girl knew that secret password and what she discovered that no one else could see, you need to subscribe right now. Hit that button because this story gets absolutely insane. You won't believe what Derek and the nurse had been planning. Subscribe now and drop a comment right now. Where are you watching from? Los Angeles? Chicago? New York? Miami? Tell us your city and what time it is where you are. We want to know where our viewers are watching this unfold. 37 minutes earlier, St. Catherine's Hospital, San Francisco. Maya Rodriguez crouched in the alley across the street, staring at the massive hospital complex. 4th floor. Room 447. That's where they were killing her best friend. Her hands trembled as she opened her broken laptop, a piece of junk she'd rebuilt from parts salvaged from dumpsters behind tech companies in Silicon Valley. Duct tape held the screen to the keyboard. The battery only lasted 40 minutes, but it was enough, because Maya Rodriguez wasn't just some homeless kid. She was one of the best hackers in the Bay Area underground. Self-taught, brilliant, desperate, and right now she was about to do something that could land her in jail for 20 years. Her fingers flew across the cracked keys. The hospital's Wi-Fi network appeared on her screen. Encrypted, protected, supposedly unhackable. Maya smiled grimly. Everything was hackable if you knew where to look. She'd been planning this for 72 hours. Ever since she realized her online friend, the boy she'd never met but talked to every single day for 8 months, had gone silent. Ever since she'd hacked into hospital records and found something that made her blood run cold. Ethan Chen wasn't dying from a disease. Someone was murdering him, slowly, carefully, and everyone thought they were trying to save him. Maya's screen flashed green. She was in. The hospital security system opened up before her like a book. Camera feeds, door locks, staff schedules, everything. She found the weakness she'd been looking for, a 7-minute gap she could create in the security rotation. 7 minutes where the cameras would loop old footage and the electronic locks would override. 7 minutes to get in, find Ethan's father, convince a billionaire that his best friend was a murderer. 7 minutes to save her only real friend's life. Maya grabbed her laptop, pulled a stolen nurse's scrub top over her dirty t-shirt, and ran across the street. The service entrance was busy with a supply delivery. Perfect. She slipped through behind a worker wheeling boxes, head down, moving fast like she belonged there. Inside, the hospital was a maze of white corridors and fluorescent lights. Maya had memorized the layout from the building schematics she'd hacked. 4th floor, East Wing, ICU. She headed for the stairs. Elevators had cameras she couldn't disable without triggering alerts. 2nd floor, 3rd floor. Her laptop bag bounced against her hip. Her heart hammered so hard she thought people could hear it. 4th floor. She pushed through the stairwell door and, "Excuse me, miss." Maya's blood turned to ice. A security guard stood 15 feet away, hand on his radio. Middle-aged, suspicious, looking right at her. "Can I see your hospital ID badge?" Maya's mind raced. She didn't have a badge. She had 5 minutes left in her security window. And the guard's finger was already moving toward his radio button. She did the only thing she could think of. She bolted. "Hey, stop right there!" Maya sprinted down the corridor, her worn sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. Behind her, the guard's radio crackled. "Security alert, 4th floor, East Wing. Unauthorized individual." Room 447. She could see it, 30 feet away. The guard was gaining on her. Heavy footsteps. Backup was coming. 20 feet. "Stop now or I'll..." 10 feet. Maya slammed into the door. Her hand hit the electronic panel. Her override code was still active. The light turned green. The door clicked open. She burst into the room and slammed the door behind her, engaging the manual lock. And there he was. Marcus Chen sat beside a hospital bed, his head buried in his hands. He looked nothing like the confident billionaire from news articles. His expensive suit was wrinkled. His eyes were hollow. His hair was a mess. This was just a broken father watching his son die. And in the bed, surrounded by beeping machines and tangled wires, lay a boy Maya had never actually met but knew better than almost anyone. Ethan Chen, 12 years old, pale as death, breathing assisted by a ventilator. Codemaster E, her friend, her mentor, the person who'd believed in her when no one else did. Marcus looked up, startled. "Who the hell are you? How did you..." Pounding erupted on the door. "Sir, we have a security situation. Please stand away from the door." Maya's words tumbled out in a rush. "Mr. Chen, my name is Maya Rodriguez, and you need to listen to me right now because your son is being murdered, and everyone you trust is lying to you and I can prove it, but you have to listen." "Security is right outside that door," Marcus said, standing up slowly. "You need to leave before..." "Project Nightingale 2019. Marcus went completely still. The color drained from his face. His legs actually wobbled. He grabbed the bed rail for support. What did you just say?" Maya's voice was steadier now. She'd practiced this moment in her head 1,000 times. "Project Nightingale 2019. That's the password to your emergency offshore account. The one you created when Ethan was 10 years old. The one you made him memorize in case something ever happened to you and he needed money to stay safe. You told him never to tell anyone, not Derek, not the staff, no one. Marcus took a step backward. That's impossible. How could you possibly? Ethan told me. 3 weeks ago, right before they put him in this coma. The pounding on the door got louder. Multiple voices now. Security was trying to override the lock. Marcus stared at her like she was speaking a foreign language. You're lying. You're some kind of con artist who somehow found out. His username was Codemaster E. Maya interrupted, speaking faster now. Time was running out. Mine was Phantom Script. We met 8 months ago on an anonymous programming forum called Codemasters United. He was teaching me advanced cybersecurity. We talked every single day. He told me things he never told anyone else. She pulled out her laptop, fingers flying across the keys despite her shaking hands. The forum page loaded. Months of private messages between Codemaster E and Phantom Script. Marcus leaned forward, reading. His finger traced across the screen. Technical discussions about encryption algorithms. Personal conversations about loneliness. Late-night debugging sessions. Inside jokes. And then the final messages from 3 weeks ago. Code Mastery. Something's wrong. The new treatment Uncle Derek approved is making me feel weird. Head feels fuzzy. Vision blurring. Phantom Script. That doesn't sound like normal side effects. You need to tell your dad. Codemaster. Dad's in Tokyo for a business deal. Uncle Derek says it's normal. But Maya. I'm scared. Phantom Script. You called me Maya. You know my real name? Codemaster. I hacked your library login last month. Sorry, but I wanted to know who my best friend really was. Maya Rodriguez. 14 years old, living in a shelter on Mission Street, teaching herself programming on a computer you rebuilt from junkyard parts. You're the bravest person I've ever known. Phantom Script. Ethan Chen. I hacked your IP 2 months ago. 12 years old, Pacific Heights mansion, teaching me code while you're lonely in a house full of everything except friends. You're the best friend I've ever had. Codemaster. If something happens to me, find my dad. Tell him Project Nightingale 2019. Tell him to check Derek's financial records. Tell him Uncle Derek's password is his birthday backwards. Tell him I love him even though I don't say it enough. And tell him to trust you because I do. The timestamp, 11:47 p.m., 3 weeks ago. 3 hours later, Ethan had collapsed at breakfast and slipped into a coma. Marcus's hands were shaking as he scrolled through the messages. Tears started falling down his face. He had a friend this whole time? He was talking to someone every day, and I didn't even know? You were working, Maya said quietly. He told me you left before he woke up and came home after he was asleep. He said he understood, that his mom died having him, and work was how you dealt with the pain. Marcus looked like he'd been punched. His mother didn't die because of him. She died from a brain hemorrhage during delivery. It wasn't his fault. I should have told him that. I should have. The door started to crack. Security was breaking through. Mr. Chen, we don't have time, Maya said urgently. She pulled up another file. I spent 3 days hacking every system I could find. Hospital records, pharmaceutical databases, financial records, and I found something terrible. She showed him Ethan's medical file. Your son was diagnosed with autoimmune encephalitis, brain inflammation. It's serious but treatable. Most patients recover with proper medication. Another file appeared. This is the treatment protocol Derek approved, experimental immunotherapy using a compound called VX773B. Derek said it was the best option, Marcus said, his voice hollow. He said it was cutting edge. It doesn't exist, Maya interrupted. VX773B isn't in any pharmaceutical database. Not FDA approved. Not in clinical trials. It doesn't exist. Marcus's face went pale. What? I found the compound name in a declassified military database. VX compounds were developed as nerve agents in the 1950s. A derivative was researched in the 1990s as a possible anesthetic, but it was abandoned because it caused severe brain inflammation. The words hung in the air like poison. Brain inflammation, Marcus whispered. That's Ethan's diagnosis. It's not a diagnosis, Mr. Chen. It's the symptom. Derek and Carolyn have been giving Ethan a compound that causes brain inflammation. Then they told you it was an autoimmune disease. They created the problem, then pretended to treat it. And all these machines, she gestured at the IV pumps, the medication dispensers. They're not keeping him alive. They're delivering a continuous drip of poison into his bloodstream. The door splintered, almost through. Why? Marcus's voice cracked. Derek is my best friend. We built Chen together. He's Ethan's godfather, for God's sake. Why would he? $47 million. Marcus blinked. What? Derek owes $47 million to the Kozlov Syndicate, offshore gambling debts. I traced the payments through dark web financial networks. He has 30 days to pay, or they kill him. Maya pulled up bank records on her screen. He's been trying to get control of Chen. If Ethan dies, you'd be devastated. Derek planned to convince you to sign over 60% of the company so he could handle things while you grieved. Then he'd sell his shares, pay off the syndicate, and disappear. Marcus stared at the financial records. Years of secret gambling, mounting debts, desperate loans from dangerous people. And Carolyn, his voice was barely audible. He promised her $2 million and a new identity. She's a nurse with massive student loan debt. She saw an opportunity and took it. The door exploded open. Derek Walsh burst in, looking frantic, handsome, concerned, the perfect friend rushing to help. Behind him came Carolyn Pierce in her crisp blue scrubs, her face a mask of professional worry. Marcus, thank God! Derek moved toward the bed. Security said some girl broke in. Who is she? What's happening? But Marcus wasn't looking at Derek. He was looking at Maya, really looking at her. This skinny, dirty, homeless 14-year-old who'd risked everything to save a boy she'd never actually met. And he made a choice. Derek, Marcus said quietly, what's your password for the Chen financial server? Derek blinked, caught completely off guard. What? Marcus, that's not important right now. We need to say it, your password, right now. I don't remember the exact May 15th, 1973, Maya said. That's Derek's birthday. Backwards, it's 379 That's his password. Ethan figured it out 3 weeks ago when he noticed unusual financial transfers in the company system. Derek's face flickered, just for a second, panic flashing across his features before he smoothed it away. But Marcus saw it. 20 years of friendship shattered in that tiny moment of fear. Marcus, she's clearly a hacker, Derek said smoothly, recovering. She could have gotten that information anywhere. You can't possibly believe... Show me your financial record, Marcus said. His voice had changed, harder now, the voice of a man who'd built an $8 billion company by being smarter than everyone else. Pull them up on your phone right now. Marcus, you're being ridiculous. Show me or I'm calling the FBI. Silence. Derek's jaw tightened, his hands clenched into fists. And in that silence, Marcus saw the truth written all over his best friend's face. Carolyn, Marcus turned to the nurse, show me your personal notes on Ethan's treatment. Carolyn's hand instinctively protected the tablet on her hip. That's confidential medical. I'm his father and I'm ordering you to show me. You're not thinking clearly, Derek said, stepping closer. Grief makes people vulnerable to manipulation. This girl is obviously a talented con artist. She knew the password, Marcus said softly, a password only Ethan could have told her. She hacked it somehow. She's a criminal. Then explain the VX773B compound. Derek froze. Explain why you approved an experimental treatment using a compound that doesn't exist in any pharmaceutical database. Explain why it's a derivative of a military nerve agent that causes brain inflammation. Explain why my son's diagnosis perfectly matches the side effects of that compound. Marcus, you're not making sense. Explain why my son was getting worse instead of better, Marcus roared. The room went silent. Derek's mask finally slipped. The concerned friend disappeared. What remained was something cold, desperate, dangerous. You don't understand, Derek said quietly. I built Chen Tech. Me. The original code was mine. You just had the charisma to sell it. I deserved half of everything, but instead I got a salary while you became a billionaire. You had equity worth hundreds of millions. It wasn't enough, Derek's voice cracked. 20 years of being second place in my own company. 20 years of watching you get the credit, the respect, the perfect son, everything. And then the gambling started, and I thought I could win big, pay off the debts, finally have what you have. But it got worse. The Kozlov syndicate doesn't forgive debt, Marcus. They were going to torture me, kill me. So you decided to kill my son instead? Derek's face twisted. Carolyn said it would be painless, that he'd just slip away, and you'd be so broken that you'd do anything I suggested. Sign over the company, give me control. I'd sell my shares, disappear, start over somewhere safe. Marcus looked at his best friend, his brother, like he was staring at a complete stranger. Get out, Marcus whispered. Marcus! Get out! Marcus screamed. Security! Arrest them both! Derek's expression changed instantly, from desperate to furious. He lunged, not toward the door, but toward Ethan's IV line. If I can't have the money, neither can you. But Maya was faster, street instincts honed by 18 months of survival. She grabbed the IV stand and yanked it away. The tube disconnected from Ethan's arm. Derek stumbled. Security guards tackled him to the floor. He fought like a wild animal, all pretense gone. I built this company. I deserved everything. He took my life. Carolyn tried to run. 2 nurses blocked her path. She pulled out her tablet and started frantically deleting files. But Maya had already backed everything up to cloud storage 3 days ago. You were poisoning a child, Maya said, her voice shaking. A 12-year-old boy who never did anything to you. Carolyn stopped struggling. Her face was cold, empty. He promised me $2 million. Do you know what that means to someone with my debt? I've been a nurse for 15 years, working doubles, barely surviving. Why shouldn't I get mine? Because you're killing an innocent person, Marcus said, his voice filled with horror. Carolyn shrugged. People die in hospitals every day. What's one more? The guards dragged them both toward the door. Derek was still screaming. You're going to trust a homeless girl over doctors? Those machines are keeping him alive. Turn them off and you'll kill him yourself. The door slammed shut behind them. Marcus and Maya were alone with Ethan and the machines. The beeping, the whirring, the quiet hiss of poison being pumped into a child's veins. Marcus sank into his chair. What if he's right? What if I turn them off and... Mr. Chen, Maya's voice was steady now, certain. The machines are delivering the compound that's keeping him unconscious. His body has been fighting the poison for 3 weeks. The moment we stop putting more poison in, his system can start clearing what's already there. How long until? I don't know. Could be minutes. Could be hours. But Mr. Chen, in 40 minutes, Carolyn was scheduled to administer another dose. Every dose makes the damage worse. We're running out of time. Marcus looked at his son, so pale, so still. He thought about all the moments he'd missed, the soccer games, the school plays, the bedtime stories he'd been too busy to read. He thought about Ethan sitting alone in their huge house, finding friendship with strangers online because his own father was never there. And he thought about this girl, Maya, who'd risked everything for a friend she'd never even met in person. Ethan had chosen his friends better than Marcus had. Marcus stood up. His hands were steady now. Tell me what to turn off. One by one, Marcus shut down the machines. The medication pump delivering the poison. Off. The secondary IV line. Off. The automated drug dispenser. Off. He left only the ventilator to assist breathing and the monitors tracking heart rate and oxygen. The room became eerily quiet. Marcus sat down and took Ethan's hand. Ethan, buddy, if you can hear me, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry I worked too much. I'm sorry I let you feel alone. I'm sorry for everything. Maya stood on the other side of the bed. Come on, Codemaster E. Phantom Script came all the way here to help you level up. Time to prove you keep your promises. 1 minute passed. Ethan's chest rose and fell with the ventilator's rhythm. Heart rate steady at 72 beats per minute. Oxygen saturation at 96%. But he didn't move. 2 minutes. Marcus's phone started buzzing, text messages flooding in. The news was spreading through Chen Tech, through San Francisco's tech community. Marcus Chen had gone crazy, attacked his business partner, was listening to a homeless teenager's conspiracy theories. Marcus turned off his phone. None of that mattered. Only Ethan mattered. 3 minutes. Maya squeezed Ethan's shoulder. Your dad's really here this time. Not at the office. Not on a call. Right here beside you, holding your hand. He's not leaving. 4 minutes. Marcus started crying. Quiet tears at first, then deep, wrenching sobs. Please, baby. Please wake up. I already lost your mother. I can't lose you too. You're all I have. You're everything. 5 minutes. The door opened. Hospital doctors rushed in. Not Derek's people, but the regular staff. A woman in a white coat moved toward the machines. Mr. Chen, what have you done? These machines are keeping your son alive. Don't touch them, Marcus said, his voice dangerous. The police are coming. I've requested full toxicology testing on every medication that's been administered. If anyone gives my son anything before those tests are complete, I'll have them arrested for attempted murder. The doctors hesitated, confused, looking at each other. 6 minutes. Maya's voice dropped to a whisper. Please, Ethan. Please wake up. I came all this way. I hacked hospital security. I broke every law I could think of. Don't make it all for nothing. 7 minutes. Marcus's forehead pressed against Ethan's hand. His whole body shook with sobs. I was a terrible father. I know that. But please give me a chance to be better. Please, I'll quit Chen Tech. I'll sell the company. I don't care about any of it. Just please come back to me. 8 minutes. One of the nurses gasped. Doctor, look at the monitor. Ethan's heart rate had increased. Slowly. 72 beats per minute. 75. 78. That's not possible, a doctor muttered. Without the medications, his heart rate should be decreasing, not... Maya's eyes went wide. His body is responding. The poison is clearing. It's working. 9 minutes. Ethan's finger twitched. It was so small, so subtle, but Maya saw it. Mr. Chen, his finger! It moved! Marcus's head snapped up. Ethan! Son, can you hear me? Another twitch. This time his whole hand. 10 minutes. Ethan's eyelids started to flutter. Rapid eye movement beneath closed lids like he was dreaming. His breathing deepened, became more natural, less dependent on the ventilator. Oh my God, one of the nurses breathed. He's regaining consciousness. 11 minutes. Ethan's eyes slowly opened. Unfocused at first. Confused. Blinking against the bright hospital lights. His gaze wandered across the ceiling, the machines, the crowd of people staring at him. And then his eyes found his father. Dad? The word was hoarse, barely audible. His throat was raw from the ventilator tube. Marcus collapsed onto his son, sobbing uncontrollably. Oh, thank God, thank God. You're awake. You're really awake. You came back to me. Ethan looked confused, frightened. What happened? Where am I? Why can't I? His eyes suddenly went wide with terror. Dad, Uncle Derek, he was putting something in my IV. I saw him late at night when he thought I was asleep. I tried to tell Nurse Carolyn, but she just smiled and gave me another injection, and everything went foggy and... I know, buddy, Marcus said through his tears. I know everything. You're safe now. He can't hurt you anymore. How did you find out? Marcus looked at Maya, who stood quietly on the other side of the bed, tears streaming down her face. Phantom script? Ethan's voice was filled with wonder. You're real? Maya laughed and cried at the same time. Of course I'm real, Codemastery. Did you think you were talking to a chatbot for 8 months? You found my dad. You actually did it. Told you I would. Friends don't abandon each other. That's what you taught me. The doctors immediately swarmed Ethan, checking his vitals, his reflexes, his cognitive responses. They were astonished. Patients didn't just wake up from 3-week comas. especially not after someone turned off their life support. But Ethan wasn't just awake. He was coherent, aware, responsive. His pupils reacted normally. His motor functions were intact. The only issues were muscle weakness from 3 weeks of immobility and throat irritation. A doctor pulled Marcus aside. "Mr. Chen, I don't understand what just happened here. By every medical standard I know, turning off those machines should have killed him. But not only is he alive, he's improving rapidly. Whatever was suppressing his neurological function appears to be stopping." "It's stopping," Marcus said, "because we stopped poisoning him." The doctor's face went pale. "Poisoning? Mr. Chen, those are serious accusations. Derek Walsh and Carolyn Pierce have been administering a neurotoxic compound disguised as experimental treatment. I have evidence. The police are on their way. I want every medication bottle tested, every IV bag analyzed, everything." Within an hour, St. Catherine's Hospital was swarming with police officers. The toxicology reports came back confirming Maya's research. Traces of a VX derivative compound in Ethan's bloodstream, enough to cause severe neurological suppression, enough to put someone in a coma. The police found more evidence in Carolyn's tablet, detailed notes on dosage, timing, and expected neurological impact. Emails between her and Derek discussing payment schedules and exit strategies. They found Derek's offshore financial records showing $47 million in debt to the Kozlov syndicate, with a payment deadline in 23 days. They found evidence that Derek had been slowly embezzling from Chen Tech to pay gambling debts, and when that wasn't enough, he'd hatched this desperate plan. Everything Maya had discovered was real, all of it. Can you even imagine what Marcus felt in that moment? His son woke up because he chose to trust a homeless girl over everyone else telling him he was wrong. And now Derek and Carolyn's entire plan was falling apart. If you're not subscribed yet, you need to hit that button right now because this story isn't over. The courtroom scene is coming, and you won't believe what happens to Derek and Carolyn. And tell us in the comments, have you ever had to make an impossible choice? A moment where you had to trust your gut over what everyone was telling you? Share your story below. We want to hear from you. 6 weeks later, San Francisco Superior Court. The courtroom was packed. Reporters filled the back rows. Chen Tech employees crowded the gallery. This was the trial everyone was talking about. The billionaire's best friend who tried to murder a child for money. Marcus sat in the front row with Ethan beside him. The boy looked healthy now. Color had returned to his cheeks. He'd gained back the weight he'd lost. Physical therapy had restored his strength. And on his other side sat Maya Rodriguez, clean clothes now, hair washed, but still clutching that broken laptop like a security blanket. At the defense table, Derek Walsh sat in an orange jumpsuit, his hands cuffed. The confident tech executive was gone. What remained looked hollow, broken. Beside him in her own orange jumpsuit sat Carolyn Pierce. Her face was expressionless, cold. The prosecutor stood up, a sharp woman in her 50s named Jennifer Martinez. "Your Honor, the evidence in this case is overwhelming. Mr. Walsh and Ms. Pierce engaged in a calculated conspiracy to murder 12-year-old Ethan Chen by administering a neurotoxic compound disguised as medical treatment." She pulled up images on a screen. Medical records, financial transactions, email correspondence. Mr. Walsh owed $47 million to an organized crime syndicate. He was desperate. So he devised a plan: kill his godson, manipulate his grieving best friend into signing over control of Chen Tech, sell the company, and disappear with the money. He recruited Ms. Pierce, a licensed nurse with access to pharmaceutical supplies and intimate knowledge of the Chen household. He promised her $2 million and a new identity. For 3 weeks, they systematically poisoned Ethan Chen with a VX derivative compound. They falsified medical records. They lied to doctors. They convinced everyone that this child was dying from a rare autoimmune disease, when in fact they were murdering him. Jennifer turned to face Derek. "Mr. Walsh, you were this child's godfather. Marcus Chen considered you a brother. Ethan called you Uncle Derek. He trusted you, and you repaid that trust by slowly poisoning him to death." Derek's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, my client was under extreme duress. The Kozlov syndicate had threatened his life. He was acting out of fear for his own survival. He had other options, Jennifer interrupted. He could have gone to the police. He could have declared bankruptcy. He could have asked Marcus Chen for help, his best friend, who absolutely would have helped him. Instead, he chose to murder a child. She pulled up more documents. We have emails where Mr. Walsh and Ms. Pierce discuss dosage timing, where they celebrate their plan working, where Ms. Pierce asks about her payment, and Mr. Walsh assures her the money will be transferred once Ethan dies. One email appeared on the screen, sent from Derek to Carolyn. Patient showing expected neural degradation. Timeline is acceptable. Continue current dosage. Payment pending completion. The courtroom gasped. Another email. He's finally in a coma. Now we just wait for Marcus to break completely, and the company is ours. Marcus's hand tightened around Ethan's. His son leaned into him, and Marcus wrapped his arm around the boy he'd almost lost. The defense tried everything. Argued diminished capacity, claimed coercion, suggested that Marcus had been an absentee father and Derek had felt obligated to step in. But the evidence was overwhelming. Forensic toxicology reports confirmed the presence of the neurotoxic compound in Ethan's blood, hair, and tissue samples. Medical experts testified that the compound was not approved for any medical use and was known to cause brain inflammation and neurological suppression. Computer forensic specialists recovered all of Carolyn's deleted files, including detailed notes on Ethan's declining condition and her observations about how much longer the process would take. Financial experts traced Derek's gambling debts and showed the timeline of his increasing desperation. And Maya testified, a 14-year-old homeless girl standing in a courtroom, explaining how she'd hacked hospital systems, traced financial records, and pieced together a murder conspiracy that no one else had seen. Ethan was my best friend, Maya said simply. When no one else believed in me, he did. He taught me programming. He told me I was smart enough to do anything. And when he needed help, I wasn't going to let him down. That's what friends do. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous. Derek Walsh, guilty of attempted murder. Guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. Guilty of fraud. Guilty of administering a controlled substance with intent to harm. Carolyn Pierce, guilty of attempted murder. Guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. Guilty of administering a controlled substance with intent to harm. The sentencing came 1 week later. The judge was a stern man in his 60s named Judge William Morrison. He'd presided over hundreds of cases in his career, but you could see the disgust on his face as he looked down at Derek and Carolyn. Mr. Walsh, you violated every bond of trust and friendship. You preyed upon a child who loved you. You manipulated medical systems designed to save lives into instruments of murder. And you did it all for money. Ms. Pierce, you took an oath to do no harm. You used your medical knowledge and access to poison a helpless child. You showed no remorse, no hesitation, no humanity. Judge Morrison's voice grew harder. This court has heard your excuses. Your lawyers have argued for leniency, but there is no lenience for what you've done. Mr. Walsh, you are sentenced to 35 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years. Derek's face crumpled. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder, but he shook it off. Ms. Pierce, you are sentenced to 30 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole for 20 years. Carolyn showed no emotion at all. Additionally, the judge continued, Ms. Pierce, your nursing license is permanently revoked. You will never work in healthcare again. And Mr. Walsh, as part of your sentence, you are ordered to forfeit all Chen Tech equity and any remaining assets to establish a victims' restitution fund. The bailiffs moved forward to take them away. Derek looked across the courtroom at Marcus one final time. His eyes were filled with tears. Marcus, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to me. The debt, the pressure, it just consumed me. I really did love that kid. I loved my life more. Marcus stared back at him with cold eyes. You tried to murder my son. There is nothing you can say that will ever make that right. Derek nodded slowly, tears streaming down his face. I know. As the bailiffs led him away, he looked back one more time. For what it's worth, I'm glad he survived. I'm glad Maya found out. I'm glad I failed. And then he was gone. Carolyn didn't look back, didn't apologize, didn't show any emotion at all as they took her away. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Marcus, Ethan, and Maya. Mr. Chen, how do you feel about the verdict? What's next for Chen Tech? Maya, how does it feel to be a hero? Marcus raised his hand for quiet. I'll make one brief statement. The crowd settled. 3 months ago, I almost lost my son because I was too busy to notice what was happening in my own home. I trusted the wrong people. I prioritized my company over my family, and my son paid the price. His voice grew stronger. But my son was saved by a 14-year-old girl who had every reason to give up on the world, but didn't give up on him. Maya Rodriguez showed more courage, loyalty, and intelligence than most adults I've known in my entire life. He looked down at Maya, who was blushing and trying to hide behind her laptop. Maya, you saved Ethan's life, and in doing so, you saved mine. I can never repay that debt. A reporter called out, What happens to Maya now? Is she going back to the shelter system? Marcus smiled. Actually, that's the other announcement I wanted to make today. He pulled out a folder of papers and held them up. These are adoption papers. As of this morning, Maya Rodriguez is officially my daughter. She's part of our family now. Maya's eyes went wide. She looked up at Marcus in shock. You really did it? The adoption went through? It went through, Marcus said, putting his arm around her. Welcome to the family, Maya. Maya broke down crying. Ethan hugged her from the other side, and the three of them stood there on the courthouse steps, a family that had been forged in crisis and sealed with love. One reporter asked, What's next for all of you? Marcus looked at his two kids because that's what they were now, both of them, and smiled. I'm stepping down as CEO of Chen Tech. I'm staying on the board, but I'm reducing my hours by 60% because I learned something important these past few months. What's that? A reporter asked. That being rich means nothing if you don't have people you love to share it with. That success means nothing if your family doesn't know you. And that the greatest gift we can give is not our money or our time, it's our presence. He looked down at Ethan and Maya. These two taught me that. A 12-year-old boy who found friendship online because his father was never home, and a 14-year-old girl who risked everything to save someone she'd never met because that's what real friends do. They showed me what courage looks like, what loyalty looks like, what love looks like. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of them. The cameras flashed. The reporters shouted more questions, but Marcus just took his kids' hands and walked to the car. Because he had more important things to do than talk to reporters. He had a family to be present for. 18 months later. Pacific Heights, San Francisco. The Chen mansion looked different now. The formal living room had been converted into a computer lab where Maya and Ethan spent hours coding together. The pristine garden had a basketball hoop and soccer goals, because what's the point of a big yard if kids can't play in it? And in the study where Marcus used to work until midnight, there was now a painting easel. Marcus had discovered he liked painting. It quieted his mind in ways work never had. It was a Saturday afternoon. Marcus was making lunch in the kitchen. He'd learned to cook, much to everyone's surprise, while Maya and Ethan argued about the best way to debug a program they were building together. I'm telling you, Phantom Script, the error is in the loop logic. Codemaster E, I've checked the loop 17 times. The issue is in the API call. Marcus smiled, listening to them bicker like real siblings. His phone buzzed. An email from the Codemaster Scholarship Fund, the organization Maya had founded using the money from Derek's forfeited assets. The fund provided full scholarships for homeless youth to learn programming. In 18 months, they'd helped 847 kids get off the streets and into tech careers. Maya had become something of a celebrity in the tech world. At 15, she'd been invited to speak at conferences. Tech companies offered her internships. Stanford had already sent her a letter saying she had a full scholarship waiting when she turned 18. But she always said the same thing. I'm just doing what Codemaster taught me, helping other people level up. Ethan had testified before Congress about online safety for minors and the importance of digital literacy. At 13, He was the youngest person ever to address a Senate subcommittee. But more importantly, he was happy. He played soccer. He had friends from school who came over. He laughed more. And Marcus? Marcus had finally figured out what mattered. He'd sold 60% of Chen Tech to a group of investors who shared his vision. He still sat on the board, still consulted on major decisions. But he worked 30 hours a week instead of 90. He coached Ethan's soccer team. He helped Maya prepare for programming competitions. He painted. He cooked. He was present. "Dad," Ethan called from the computer lab. "Can you settle an argument?" Marcus wiped his hands and walked to the lab. Maya and Ethan sat side by side at their workstations, both staring at lines of code. "What's the argument?" They both started talking at once, explaining the technical problem in detail. Marcus didn't understand half of it. They were both way beyond his skill level now, but he listened carefully, asked questions, and helped them think through the problem. Not because he had the answer, but because they wanted his input, because he was there. That evening, the three of them sat on the back patio watching the sunset over San Francisco Bay. The city sparkled below them, millions of lights beginning to glow as darkness fell. "Dad," Ethan said quietly, "do you ever think about Uncle Derek?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes. I think about who he used to be, before the gambling, before the debt. I think about the friend I lost long before he tried to hurt you." "Do you hate him?" "I hate what he did, but I've learned that holding on to hate just poisons you from the inside. Kind of like that compound he gave you. It hurts you more than anyone else." Maya spoke up. "My mom used to say that hurt people hurt people. Maybe Derek was hurting for a long time and we just didn't see it." "Maybe," Marcus agreed, "but that doesn't excuse what he did. You can understand someone's pain without forgiving their actions." Ethan nodded, thinking about that. "The important thing," Marcus continued, "is that we learn from it. I learned to be present, to pay attention, to value the people I love more than the things I own." He looked at both of his kids. "You two taught me that. You showed me what really matters." Maya smiled. "You're getting soft in your old age, Dad." Marcus laughed. "I'm 43, not ancient." "Ancient," Ethan agreed, grinning. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun sink below the horizon. "Hey, Dad," Maya said. "Thanks for believing me that day, in the hospital. I know it was crazy. I know you had every reason to think I was lying." Marcus reached over and squeezed her hand. "You gave me a reason to believe. You knew things only Ethan could have told you. And more than that, you risked everything for him. That kind of loyalty, that kind of love, that's not something you fake." "Friends don't abandon each other," Maya said softly. "No," Marcus agreed. "They don't." Ethan stood up. "Come on, we should head inside. We have that Codemasters webinar at 8 where we're teaching encryption basics." "Coming!" Maya jumped up, already thinking about the lesson plan. Marcus followed them inside, his heart full. He'd been given a second chance, a chance to be the father his son deserved, a chance to be the father his new daughter needed. And he wasn't going to waste it. Because in the end, all the money in the world, all the success, all the recognition, none of it mattered compared to sitting on a patio with your kids, watching the sunset, and knowing they felt loved. That was the real treasure. That was what he'd almost lost. And that was what a brave, homeless girl with a broken laptop had saved. What an incredible journey. A homeless girl who risked everything to save her friend. A father who learned what really matters before it was too late. And a boy who survived because he chose his friends wisely. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We have more incredible stories coming that you won't want to miss. And tell us in the comments, what lesson did you take from this story? What would you have done in Marcus's position? Drop your thoughts below. We read every comment. Thank you for watching. And remember, real wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the people who would risk everything to save you, and the people you'd risk everything to save. See you in the next story.